Did you miss the Giraffe Pro Camera webinar on Thursday, July 10th, 2025? Stay tuned for a recording of the entire webinar. Hi all, I am the digital twin of Dan Smigrod, founder of the We Get Around Network Forum. You're watching a special edition of the WGAN-TV Podcast for digital twin creators shaping the future of real estate today. Giraffe360 gave us permission to share their third webinar, From Photographer to Real Estate Media Provider. Also, Giraffe360 has a special offer for the WGAN community. Try the Giraffe360 Pro Camera risk-free for 60 days. Just $123 per month for 2 months with no long-term commitment. Scan up to 10 complete property listings at no additional charge, and the test drive includes all add-ons. For full details and to order, visit wgan.info/giraffe360-pro. If you are watching this WGAN TV podcast show after the offer expires, you can still redeem free Giraffe 360 Blue Sky replacement for HDR photos with voucher code WGAN at giraffe360.com. Build your own bundle and subscribe. And now the Giraffe 360 webinar, From Photographer to Real Estate Media Provider.
Hello everybody, and welcome to the third Giraffe 360 webinar in our photography series. My name is Samy, I'm the CCO here at Giraffe 360, and I'm very excited to be here today. Before we start, I just wanted to give a very brief preface on today's session, starting with, I guess, a bit of a nexus statement. I think right now, most agents are hiring photographers purely to take stills. That's it. But buyer expectations are changing, and agents are starting to look for more video, 3D, floor plans, and social content, the kind of media that helps their listings stand out. So today's session is going to be about how photographers can step into that space to offer the full package, not just the images, and how Giraffe 360 can help make that possible, all from a single visit. Before we run through the full agenda for today's session, I wanted to just do a very quick reminder of the key takeaways from our last webinar. So last month, we took a look at some of the data outlining massive shifts in the demographic of home buyers, as well as the current status quo when it comes to agents' content requests when bringing a property to market. We introduced our brand new Pro Camera and the tripod designed to give photographers a pro-level workflow in a single tool and unlocking the door to a whole host of new content. Some of that we are going to go through today. We also ran through our new tool, Listing Spotlight, which is the start of our journey into empowering property professionals to go from assets to content, generating powerful marketing campaigns, all within the Giraffe 360 Content Studio. So on the agenda, here's a little bit more about what we're covering today in focus. We'll start with some industry insights, some context, and why kind of this shift that I mentioned earlier matters right now. We'll then deep dive into the Giraffe 360 platform, so what you'll be able to offer your clients beyond just the stills, including some fantastic new video tools powered by the Pro Camera. Last time, as a guest, we had Ainars from our hardware team on the call, and we had a lot of feedback that viewers wanted to see more of the video potential coming from the Pro Camera. So this time we have Ainars. He leads our immersive team behind the new video tech, which we'll show you in a little bit more detail later on. Ainars, I imagine you're extremely excited to get this out into the world.
Hey, Samy. Yeah, I've been working on this for quite a lot of time, so I'm very excited to share it. Yeah, so we'll be waiting for my part then.
Amazing. Yeah, and as I mentioned last time, we had so many people, Ainars, who asked, can we actually see some examples of the content that the new camera is going to be generating? And so to be able to come out with a little bit of that today, I think is extremely exciting. After that, we'll look at a little bit more about the engine behind the Giraffe 360 system and a deep dive into how photography is rendered inside our content studio. And then finally, we'll round off with the photography program, a special trial offer, so a limited offer for you to get your hands on the brand new Pro Camera and actually kind of start to generate some of the content that we talk about today, and then wrap up with a Q&A session. So at any time during this presentation, just scan the QR code and you'll be able to send questions, and we will go through all of those at the end of the session today. So let's start. Let's talk about what's actually happening in the market. So most of you guys kind of watching and listening along today are already fantastic photographers. The changes in the market, though, are set to drive a heavier set of requirements than pure photography as marketing content, and kind of pushing traditional photographers and kind of content capture professionals to become full media partners for real estate content generation. And as we kind of mentioned briefly in the last session, based on NAR, Zillow, and Redfin research, millennials are now definitively the largest home buyer group. They dominate that first-time buyer segment and are now surging up in that move-up category. So they've become the agent's likely target audience, and this will only grow. But why does that mean a shift from traditional methodologies into a media partnership? It's because 82% of millennial buyers say they want an immersive experience, but agents are still only hiring photographers to deliver stills. Only 9% of agents are equipped to deliver anything, anything from an immersive perspective. So what we see here is an extremely clear gap. The demand is growing, but the supply isn't keeping up. And this is where we see a massive opportunities for photographers to step in and be a part of the change that's happening inside the industry. It's not just a new generation of buyers that we're talking about here. It's a seismic shift in this generation's purchasing habits, their behaviors, how they consume content, the way they interact with the market, and ultimately what captures their attention enough to convert them through into the next stage of the buy-in funnel. And I think that this urgency is kind of compounded at the moment by the current state of the market, which, if we're totally honest, is not in its greatest shape. On top of the shifts in the demographical requirements, the market is slow. We're in the worst space we've been for, I guess, nearly 2 decades. So standing out now becomes a prerequisite for success. Essentially, sales are down and listings are sitting longer. It's not the easiest time to be an agent, which means they're more selective around what they spend their money on. But on the flip side, they need to stand out. They're hungry for finding more things that work for their business. And we see that agents who use immersive media, so video, 3D, floor plans, sell properties faster, attract more attention, even in a slower market. So agents need to find a way to stop the scroll, generate interest, and give those buyers a reason to act. And I think so far, we've talked a lot about the kind of the buyer expectations shaping some changes in the market and how agents aren't set up to meet them. And the Pro Camera and platform weren't built just to help you capture great photos. They were built to help you offer more. Agents aren't just looking for those photos. They're under pressure to deliver video, to deliver floor plans, social content, immersive. And they need that quickly and from somebody that they trust. And I think that this is the wave we all need to be preparing ourselves to ride, right? Your value used to some degree, be measured by the quality of images or the speed that you get your images back to your agents. But now it can be measured by more, the impact your work has on viewings, on engagement, and how the property actually performs. We no longer need to stop when we send files over to our customers. So I've used the term quite a few times so far, right? Media provider or media partner, but what does it actually mean? And I've been kind of trying to rack my brain to think of an analogy to use for today's webinar. And I think the following works best. So a photographer traditionally is more like a house painter, right? You follow a brief, do what's requested, and deliver something that looks amazing. You get more business if you do a good job, and the cream naturally rises to the top. But ultimately, you call a painter when the painting needs doing, and you see when they're available and you get them booked in. But a media real estate provider, that's more like an interior designer, right? They're bringing ideas, that they're not just painting, they're shaping the outcome. They're part of a much larger conversation about how a home is presented and how it performs. So I think a key shift there is you don't just get involved then at the last moment when somebody's decided what they're doing. You get involved from day dot. They're highly valued, integral parts of the process in the eyes of the agent. And the photographers that we see growing fastest are stepping into that second role. They're showing up with a camera, but they're also showing up with insights, with answers, a plan, experience. A media provider working confidently with an a la carte menu of services isn't just providing something on request, right? They're helping shape the digital journey of that home. And what we want to do is show that a media provider is not just about doing more for free. It's about adding significant value. And we can provide the tools to do that without quadrupling the cost, without quadrupling the workload for Giraffe360 users. And so where this kind of really fell into place for me is that when that shift happens, you're no longer just a piece of the jigsaw that is selling property. You're actually the one who can lift the box up and show the agent the picture on the front. And I think in there lies a humongous opportunity. So we've talked quite a lot about that shift in the buyer expectation, but also the access is changing. A few years ago, what we're talking about today would not have been realistic for most photographers. And this is something we've been focused on for a really long time. The type of things that we're talking about here are things that only large agencies could offer, or you have to pull in additional people and kind of like share the revenue from each capture, the video, the floor plans, the editing pipelines, and the automated marketing. all require teams and therefore costs. But what we've done at Giraffe is remove the friction. We've made it possible for one person with a single tool to offer that full end-to-end package, from the capture to the content to the marketing, but also to be able to do that at scale. So this is where really the conversation changes. It's not about just photography. It's about how a home is brought to market. And photographers are, in my opinion, in the perfect position to lead that shift. How we do this is through building a single integrated system that takes you from the scan at the home to all of that diverse media with no handoffs, no stitching, no additional platforms. On the capture side, we start with the Pro Camera, which we went through in our last webinar, and that's capturing everything you need in one go: the LiDAR, your panoramas, HDR stills, property data. Content Studio then processes it. That's where we're leveraging a whole host of purpose-built models to render all of that core media, the photos, the videos, the 3D tours, floor plans, point clouds, and give you tools to enhance and adjust that content. And finally, Listing Spotlight allows you to take care of the marketing side, bringing property websites, social media assets, email campaigns, all auto-generated and ready to use. And you can think about the breadth of content and processes that you can fill with a single ecosystem. So what you get is a beautiful closed loop. It's camera, media creation, all the way through to marketing in a single roof. And this isn't just about capability and becoming, more for the sake of more. It's as I mentioned, it's about meeting that demand, right? So buyers today expect more. The floor plans were one of the highest requested pieces of content from buyers last year. The fact that they're not kind of provided as standard on every property is crazy. 58% of people want 3D tours. 74% expect video when they view property content and when they view property online. This isn't a future trend or a potential. It is literally current behavior, right? And this is how I found my home. When you're offering all of this in a single visit, you're not just impressing the clients, you're giving the buyers, so your clients' exactly what it is that they're looking for, even without the agent knowing it's a requirement at this stage. So let's shift a little bit more into the Content Studio. I've mentioned this a couple of times, and we've mentioned this on previous webinars. This is the central place where content is rendered, refined, and shared. The studio began its journey as a very basic dashboard, right? To download your edited files, think like a glorified online drive. It's now really evolved into a core part of Giraffe360's ecosystem as an engine where the raw data becomes the content, the assets are received and worked on, and the next stage of that marketing pipeline begins. So the goal with this is to streamline the workflow and keep you ahead, using the AI to handle the heavy lifting, the repetitive tasks, saving you all of that time, and then expanding the potential of a single photographer. Now, some of that is automatic, like the floor plans and the generation of the virtual tours, but everything is editable. Photographers and agents can fine-tune images, customize layouts, create new video styles, change names. There's absolutely tons you can do all inside that same platform. It's also adapting to you and your client's preferences. So you can set presets, apply styles, or take significant control, or take a step back and let automation work, depending on how you want to work with your content. Now, here's something really exciting, and I think a lot of people here are here to see this. So we have a base idea now of the premise of the Content Studio. I'm very, very excited to take a look at a brand new release, which I don't think actually there is anything remotely close to this in the market with this level of accessibility. And video is now a huge part of the baseline for listings. Everybody knows this. And what we're doing with video is a huge step forward when it comes to speed, control, and visual quality. So Ainars, you've led the team building out this new layer of immersive content. Can you let us know a bit more about what Gaussian splats are and how they're changing what's possible from that single property visit?
Yeah, Samy, thank you. So yeah, I think you already touched on this a bit. Video isn't the content that is optional anymore, especially with social media becoming such an important sales channel. But there's a catch. Social media content has a really short lifespan. So you need to create a lot of videos, a lot of content to stay on top of the feed. And this is where it becomes a bit expensive, time consuming. And this is where a lot of agents actually turn off about this idea. So this is why we're introducing something very exciting. Those are videos that are generated from the scans. With the Pro Camera, creating these videos will be easier than ever. Both of them are created from a single scan in the real estate. On the left, you see a cinematic style video, which is the most requested video style agents are looking for today. And on the right is what we call a virtual drone video. It is a style where it looks like a drone has flown through the house. And this is something that is very desired, but is a bit hard to get nowadays.
So Ainars, like these look amazing, and these, as you say, are a single scan, and they're both the same property, but very, very different pieces of video content. And so traditionally, to get this breadth of content and to get these two types, what would a setup look like for a videographer or somebody trying to kind of pull this content type out of a property?
Yeah, it's a good question. So if you speak about the cinematic style video, then usually what it takes is a professional videographer that you have to invite to the house. He has to take a lot of gear with it, like gimbals and dollies, and set up the lights and move the stuff around the real estate. So it becomes quite cumbersome and it takes quite a lot of time. So this is where we can cut down on that. But if we speak about the drone style video, which I'm personally most excited about, is that first of all, you have to find a drone pilot that can actually fly indoors. And then the second big thing usually is insurance, because you have to have a good insurance so that you don't buy the house yourself in the end. And this usually kind of stacks up and it becomes very expensive media to make. But this is where we are actually changing things up. So now you can have both of these videos with every property that you scan. And this is all possible due to technology called Gaussian splatting. Gaussian splatting builds photorealistic 3D models from your scans using AI-powered particles. But it's going to be easier if I explain you how does it happen. So the first step is the scanning. The Pro camera captures millions of 3D data points with our LiDAR 2.0, learning exact shape of every room, every furniture, and every surface. The point cloud is so dense that it is so detailed that you can see the property already taking the shape. It's like an X-ray vision of this entire property. And now comes the transformation. This is where magic happens. The AI takes everything your camera has captured, the point clouds, images, panoramas, and turns them into these tiny Gaussian splats. Now you got a realistic digital copy of your real estate that you can revisit anytime. It's more just the data. It's the whole property recreated in a perfect 3D. So,
wow.
Yeah.
Just a quick question on this, Ainars. So this obviously comes with the new Pro camera, right? So in order to kind of capture this type of content, you need to use the Pro camera. And what's different about the Pro camera and the new capture flow that allows us to now generate this level of content?
Yeah, it's a good question. So first of all, the camera itself, we have the new LiDAR 2.0, which has very good point clouds that allow us to create a very precise 3D models of the real estate. The double height, so the tripod that moves up and down, is also a very important part so that we can get a better view of the real estate. And the third thing is, I think there's a bit of ideology change here, because if previously you needed to come and capture the real estate, now you need to think more about the scanning of the real estate, because this is what we are doing right now. We're more actually scanning the real estate so that we can make this the copy of this property. But yeah, the new camera is a very important step here.
Amazing. So it's a combination of kind of the new hardware with the LiDAR and then an enhanced scan process designed to kind of guide the user around capturing all of the data required to build this, right?
Exactly.
Perfect.
Exactly. All right. So the scan is done. We have the 3D model. Now we are onto the fun part. Now watch what happens. You can see on the left in the 3D model that our system draws a colored line inside the 3D model. This line represents unique video being created. Think of it this way. The 3D model becomes your film set, and you can let in this film set a virtual videographers, and they can create almost any video style or anything that kind of comes into your mind. because we have the copy and we can digitally let them in. And you can do it without putting your foot on the property, like just with the click of a mouse while you're sitting at your computer. So this is why we are saying that what used to take a team now takes a scan. And I cannot find a better statement for this, because now you can go alone to a property, scan it, come home, and generate the videos like there would have been a team with you.
It's crazy.
So yeah.
It's almost like creating a full kind of replica of the property that you can send a team into at any time, but being able to do that virtually. And so what I'm kind of thinking with this is there's so many options, right? So we've shown everybody today like the cinematic option and the drone. Like, what's the plan for the future?
Yeah. So we are starting out with the most requested ones right now. So where you would hire the videographers the most, and the most desired one, but a bit hard to get out of our research. But we're going to build on top of it. We're going to add some music to it, some new video styles, some new editing possibilities. Also, right now they come as it is out of the box, but we're going to be adding some new stuff to it. Like, for example, maybe you will be able to adjust your drone trajectories or things like that. But yeah, so there's a lot of things coming up. I think this is a very important content to work for us.
Yeah, I think it's amazing. The potential is really limitless, right? Because by creating that 3D kind of model of the property, it's just about creativity from there, isn't it? So yeah, thank you so much, Ainars, for running us through that. And yeah, I think keep an eye on the socials, because over the coming weeks and months, we've had clients beta testing. So there's property examples being processed currently. So there's going to be tons for you to see. So definitely keep an eye out and find out a little bit more about what's going on in the space of Gaussian splatting. And as you mentioned there, obviously, last time we had a couple of questions around the editability and kind of the control that the user has. And you mentioned that that's coming soon. And I think this is a really good opportunity for us to take a kind of closer look at the content studio. It's not just generating the automated content, from day dot. It's actually a full editing environment. So how it works behind the scenes is more than automation. It's powered by AI, designed for real estate media, but puts the control into the hands of the professional. So once the media is ready, you or your client can jump in and fine tune anything from image styles, blur settings, video structure, floor plans. It means you can move fast when you want to, or if you've got a particularly fussy client or you have a hallmark in the way that you edit, you can apply that to your content without leaving the Giraffe360 platform. Everything lives in the one place. The photos, the tours, the videos, property websites, every piece can be adjusted with built-in tools. Again, as Ainars mentioned earlier, thinking about letting a video crew into the property 4 times for different content. This is, you don't need to have any experience in building websites. The system builds it for you. That one platform gives you that full control. So yeah, no need to jump between software, sending files back and forth, streamlined end-to-end workflow. And that toolkit keeps growing. There's going to be new video editors, new formats, more control for the end user. And I think whether you want to keep it simple or just deliver a bespoke package, the content studio is built to scale. And we're talking a lot about new cameras, new video, immersive content, and editors. But I just wanted to make one thing really, really clear today. Photography is still at the heart of real estate marketing, right? It's a huge focus for us here at Giraffe360. And what we're talking about today is not by any means about replacing photography. It's about elevating the property marketing journey, making things faster, more consistent, and part of a full media package that helps that listing stand out. So I know photos and photography is extremely important. So I wanted to take a quick look at what actually happens when we process images captured by our users, because it often goes unseen, but it's foundational and a constant development for us. Every time a user uploads a captured image to the content studio over a 3 to 6 hour period, a lot of stuff happens, right? What you're seeing on the screen now is a snapshot of the process: HDR blending, white balance, straightening, lighting correction, sky detection. This is all the automated steps that take place. It's a bit of a spider web here, but it's years of world-class engineering. So let's break down in a little bit more detail what's actually happening behind the scenes each time an image is processed. For every photo, we capture 3 exposures: the baseline for the midtones and kind of forms the foundation of the image, an underexposed image to preserve detail in the brightest areas, so lights, windows, sun, and then an overexposed image, a third exposure to reveal detail in the darker parts of the room, so the corners, the low light spaces. Those three exposures are then blended to create a balanced HDR image. And at the same time, we unwrap that fisheye lens, straighten the verticals, correct the distortion, and apply color and lighting adjustments. We result with a single clean image. Now, we know that not everybody wants the same look on their images, right? What looks great to one person might not look great to another. So that's why we've built all of this control we spoke about earlier. So instead of one default enhancement standard, you can choose from a set of presets. So color boost, muted colors, cool and bright, and many more. But alongside this, agents and photographers have full control to fine tune and save their own styles. So if you've got a signature look, if you've got clients with specific preferences, you can lock that into the system. You can apply your own presets automatically for interior and exterior images. So the photos with the right style get applied for your customer or for yourself without any extra effort. Next up is object removal. This lets you clean up anything that shouldn't be in the shot, right? People, clutter, signage, damage that's getting fixed. You don't have to blur, you don't have to reshoot. It's all done in platform. Select the subject and click remove, and the system will remove it from the images. This works great for things like unwanted reflections, for artwork that might not be to the general public's taste, for trash left out in the garden. So this is a fantastic way to control your images, again, without leaving that content studio. Next up is the blur. So we start with the original image, and we use a lot of AI models to segment out things that should be blurred to maintain privacy for customers. So we auto detect things like door numbers or registration plates of vehicles. Should you wish to manually blur, you can make a selection, again, or within the photo editor inside the content studio, and hit blur, and you've got your final image. This is automatically done for things like family photographs, for registration plates of vehicles. It's a fantastic tool for you to provide that security to your customer as a standard without having to go and do it every single time manually. Next up, sky replacement. I live in Manchester for my sins, which is very overcast. We get a couple 100 days of rain a year, but that's not a problem for photographers using Giraffe360. The sky replacement swaps a clean blue sky. It runs automatically with indoor sky replacement coming very soon. Now, we're automatically detecting that image and applying a blue sky, but this isn't a random image. We generate a unique sky for each property based on the warmth and brightness, and match that generated sky to the property to make it look as natural as possible. We slightly tweak the sky on each of the external images of the same property to give that natural feel of clouds moving. Sky replacement's been a key feature of our photography for some time on our externals, but we are very shortly releasing, and excited to do so, for indoor images also, maintaining the sky through the project and giving the best impression of the home potential throughout the property. And it runs through that same process, segmenting and replacing. Next up, camera removal. So we employ segmentation for a lot of things in image editing, as you see, including how we select those exposures through windows. Here, we're using segmentation for camera removal across assets. So mirrors, reflections, glass. If the camera is visible, the system will automatically find the camera and remove it, which means you can focus on positioning without having to think about retouching at a later date. So we're segmenting that camera and then removing it in the final image. And we're doing this across not just mirrors, across reflective surfaces, oven doors, all that type of stuff. Same for shadows, even super subtle ones. It helps us keep that image clear, again, allowing you to focus on the composition of the image without having to worry about reshooting. With all of this, photographers don't want to spend hours, as we know, chasing clients for feedback and then making retouches. We're taking that heavy lifting out of post-production and delivering a constant workflow from the capture to the final output. And it's not about replacing photographers or photography. It's about scaling and adding tools to your workflow, giving you in the correct circumstances for your business more time, a clean and consistent output, and tools that match the expectations of your local market. Now, let's run briefly through the official partner program, photography program, and what it means for members. If you've mastered the photography side, this is where you level up. It's about turning your great content, your relationships into business. We're offering zip code exclusivity, just one photographer per area, 2 zip codes per camera with a full 12-month coverage, meaning any leads generated go directly to you as the local photographer. You're essentially becoming that local go-to expert for this caliber of media-rich listings. The workflow's all in one, from the scan to the delivery, and everything's built for speed at scale. It's not just a camera anymore. It's the agency engine with new tools dropping every 30 days. And if you've been watching this thinking, I want to try that, this is where to start. A reminder, all the new video formats, from the cinematic to the drone style to the splat-based immersive, are only possible with the Giraffe 360 Pro camera, which is currently set to release in August. For our existing customers, you can order the Pro camera directly via the customer success team. There is an upgrade path in place, prioritizing early adoption. As we've already mentioned a couple of times to our existing customers, there's different workflows. And so we're happy to discuss this with you on a per customer basis and find out if it's the right tool for you moving forward. Just reach out to us if you want in. But for those of us joining for the first time, this is the best moment. Right after this session, you'll get an email with a webinar only link giving you access to the following offer: the opportunity to dip your toe into the water for just $123 per month. That $123 gives you 10 listings as opposed to the usual 5 to be used within a 60-day period. That's 10 homes with photography, G-Splat videos, drones, floor plans, virtual tours, everything you've seen today and in those previous webinars. This offer will only run until the 14th of July, 6 p.m. Eastern time, and will be limited to attendees of today's webinar. Signing up will make you amongst the first photographers in the world to be able to provide this full media suite with exclusivity over the leads generated in your region. Amazing. So I've spoken a lot today, and I'm very excited to hopefully take some questions from our attendees. So would love to, any questions that you might have now, feel free to jump into Slido. You can use the QR code on screen to fire questions over, and me and Ainars will do our very best to answer them. Anything that we can't get to today in terms of we need to clarify, we will make sure to come back as well. So next up, will you be supplying marketing materials geared especially for professional photographers? This is a great question, and a question that we've heard a few times. 100%. You know, in the past, we've built content specifically for photographers to use when they start out. Obviously, when you first receive that camera, you won't have created a load of G-Splat videos before or a load of drone footage. So we will be working on marketing packs that our photography customers and members of that photography program can utilize to get their name out there and showcase the potential of what they can provide to agents with the new technology. Next questions, just loading up. G-Splat, can I control the fly-through path? It's a great question. As Ainars mentioned earlier, initially, we will be limited to providing a pre-built and defined path. But later down the line, editability and customization will form a huge part of Giraffe 360's G-Splat kind of content, as it has with the photography and the virtual tours. Ainars, this is probably your wheelhouse, so anything that I've missed there?
Yeah, I think you answered for most of the part. Well, the one thing I wanted to note is that we're working on these algorithms so that they work out of the box right away, and you don't need to adjust anything. But of course, there are usually some cases where you need to do some tweaking. So in the first stages, it's definitely going to be something as it is. But down the line, as you mentioned already, we are thinking about how could we introduce also this editability. And we know that's especially important for photographers.
Amazing. Thank you, Ainars. Next question, will Giraffe syndicate to all the major platforms in the US, including the major listing platforms? So this is a big part of, if you've seen in previous webinars or spoke to any of our team, the integration is a massive part of who we are. It's kind of baked into our DNA, and we want to be the most connected system out there, okay? So we're willing to build integrations and work with platforms that are willing to work with Giraffe 360. So we already have integrations with platforms like Zillow and lots of platforms over here in different regions. So as I say, it's a major part of who we are and who we want to be, and we will continue to try to open up those relationships across the board. A lot of them we already have, which is fantastic. Next up, when will you be introducing the Pro Camera to Europe? So because we're in the process right now of pre-orders, we're focused on the US with the photography program. I can't give a definitive date in terms of when exactly we will kind of be starting to push into Europe. But for existing customers and people interested in Europe, reach out, and I'm sure we can have a discussion and work out exactly how we can get you that Pro Camera. Will the Gaussian splat tech for videos be an extra charge? Ainars, over to you.
Yes. Well, this is something that's going to be included with the Pro Camera right now. So let's see how it's going to go further. But yeah, for now, as I know, the plan is that it's going to be included with the Pro Camera.
Brilliant. And the Pro Camera forms a part, currently the same pricing bundle as the Go Cam. So fantastic access there. Next up, similar question. How much editing control do I have over the auto-generated content? So the virtual tours, the floor plans, the images, and the kind of traditional videos, you have a lot of editing control. With these brand new G-Splats, as Ainars mentioned earlier, they'll start out of the box with a real kind of keen eye and a lot of attention to detail on optimizing those paths so they work well out of the box. But as I've mentioned a couple of times, the kind of editability and the control for the users is very important to Giraffe 360 and will definitely be kind of forming a part of development. Next up, are the AI tools and Content Studio fully available during the trial? Yes, absolutely. Everything that we've shown you here today and in previous webinars is included as a part of the trial and the general Giraffe 360 subscription. How and where should the scan points be placed for the best possible result in the videos? How many scans per room? Ainars, definitely one of yours.
Yeah, so this is a very good question. And I will be fully transparent that we're still looking for the goal, like the sweet spot of the scanning. But the general rule is the better, the more. Like the more scans we have, the better is going to be the outcome. But I think what is very important here is that when you do scanning and you know that you will want the Gaussian splat videos, it's to think about scanning. So let's say if you have a lot of items in the room, maybe you're going to need to have a bit more scans. If it's going to be an empty room, you can do much less. So yeah, I think that's the general rule here.
Yeah, and I think as I've mentioned a couple of times, the estimated ship that kind of starting the release of the camera is in August. And prior to that, anybody with a pre-order, we will make sure we've kind of got definitive guides and everything ready for you. So when you do go and hit that first property, you're comfortable and kind of ready to go. Next question. Are you saying agents are targeted as clients, or can they have access to these settings through the photographer's portal? So the purpose of today's webinar is to kind of bring this out. We see photographers as being the key driver for this kind of seismic shift in what the kind of new age buyer wants, right? It's a more complex scan process. It's a kind of, it's something you're providing as a service that agents don't necessarily have the time or the experience to build. So yeah, the purpose of today's webinar is to kind of target photographers and have a discussion with photographers about the changes that we see and show you guys first what it is that we're working with. And the rest of the question is kind of, can they access these settings through the photographer's portal? And I think that is, that's kind of up to the photographer, right? So the Giraffe 360 Content Studio is very, very powerful, and access is not limited specifically to you as the photographer. You have full control over that platform. So you can give access to that platform to, one of your customers should they wish to, and they can download and make tweaks to the content. So that's for you to decide. You've got that full control over the system. Next up, Ainars, how long does it take to render videos?
Yeah, so it takes a bit of time to create the 3D model for the Gaussian splats to get trained. Usually it takes from an hour to a few hours, depending on the property. But then the videos, they are quite fast. So the way to think about this is that it may take a bit of time to get the 3D model. But once the 3D model is there, the rendering of the videos, and no matter how many we're going to have them, it's going to happen in a few minutes.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Next question. How long does, will virtual twilight be available soon? This is a commonly requested feature and one that I know our photography products line are working on. So I don't have off the top of my head right now a exact date for release, but I know that that's something that's in the active pipeline. Great. Are there any limitations when it comes to G-Splat video, or will it work with any space or property? This is a fantastic question.
Yeah, it's a very good one. So we have focused mostly right now on residential real estate for this. So this is why we have this is where we have tested it the most as well. But we're gonna push the boundaries a bit more. We have to start somewhere. But in terms of limitations, there is some minimal requirements. So the real estate has to have at least, or the scanning process has to have at least 3 rooms. and each room has to be at least 5 square meters. Samy, maybe you can convert that into feet approximately, but those are the minimum requirements for now. But as we move forward, they're going to change. They're going to be less restrictive, probably.
Great. We have also had a few questions that have come in on YouTube. So can the camera be connected to and controlled from, for an example, a mobile phone? So it can control the camera to take a picture when it has to be placed in the corner of a small room. No, not currently. We are, as always, very open to ideas and kind of work on feedback from customers and prospects. But the scan process is extremely simple to kick off, and there is a little bit of time to kind of get yourself out of the way. So we haven't found it, to be a really kind of like heavy requirement with the current scan process, but obviously, always open to hear feedback. Another question, how well does the G-Splat work on non-real estate venues, which we've just looked at? And will we be able to change the text on social media, for example, to Norwegian? So question in regards, I assume that's a Listing Spotlight. Yeah, Listing Spotlight's currently in beta. But yeah, multi-language support, etc., of course, in the pipeline for customers in different regions. Just checking now if we have any more questions coming in from our slider. Bear with me 1 second. Amazing. Okay, so I think we have covered the questions that come in. If anybody wants to kind of get in touch with us, feel completely free to do so. We're more than happy to speak to anybody interested in the product. Just a quick reminder of the offer that we have today. As I mentioned, today is a better time than ever to get involved with this, especially with all this new content. So as I mentioned, you can try Giraffe360 today for $123 a month. It gives you 60 days to use 10 listings as opposed to the usual 5. As I mentioned, that's 10 properties with all of the content that I showed you earlier and in the previous presentation, that full media suite. And again, you'll be the first person in your area, get a hold of that zip code and be the first amongst the first people in the world to be able to provide this type of content to your users. And this offer is time limited. It does end on July the 14th at 6 p.m. Now, I think I've covered everything today. Ainars, is there anything that you wanted to tell our lovely listeners before we wrap up?
I think that's all. I think if we have anyone who is ready to test out the G-Spots, I'm very happy to work with you. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you, as always, to everybody listening today. Thank you, Ainars, for joining us and for the team to putting together the webinar. We'll be back again for a webinar shortly, and keep an eye on the socials. And if you're interested and you want to get going, as I've mentioned 5 or 6 times, now is a better time than ever. Thank you so much for listening and have a fantastic day.
Thanks, Samy and Ainars. And thanks for the Giraffe360 special offer for the WGAN community. Try the Giraffe360 Pro Camera risk-free for 60 days. Just $123 per month for 2 months with no long-term commitment. Scan up to 10 complete property listings at no additional charge, and the test drive includes all add-ons. For full details and to order, visit wgan.info/Giraffe360-Pro. If you are watching this WGAN-TV podcast show after the offer expires, you can still redeem Giraffe360 free blue sky replacement for HDR photos with voucher code WGAN at giraffe360.com, where you can build your own bundle and subscribe. If you have follow-up questions about the Giraffe360 Pro Camera or the Giraffe360 Photographer Program, please post them in the We Get Around Network Forum at wegetaroundnetworkforum.com, or contact Giraffe360 using the Giraffe360 Contact Us page at giraffe360.com and let them know voucher code WGAN. For all WGAN-TV podcast episodes, look for WGAN-TV in your favorite podcast app or go to WGAN-TV.com. For all WGAN-TV podcast shows featuring Giraffe360, including webinars 1 and 2, go to wgan.info/giraffe on WGAN. Thank you.